Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. Today's video is a mini manga reviews video. All of the ones that I'm featuring today are first volumes, and there's kind of a mix of when they were out. They've all been out recently, but some of them are a little bit late. First up is Eden Zero. This one is set in space. It is about Shiki. He is our main character. He has grown up on this planet that is essentially a giant amusement park, but it's abandoned, and one day Rebecca arrives with her cat Happy. They are essentially YouTubers. They've arrived there to film a vlog, and then stuff happens and Shiki ends up leaving with them, and he goes off across the galaxy to join this adventurers guild, and the two of them go off on this quest to find the answer to a mysterious being and to help Rebecca become an epic YouTuber. The opening chapter hit me in the feels more than I thought it would with Shiki and the robots, but it did effectively introduce us to the world. It also served to intrigue me to see where this was going to go and what was going to happen next. And then of course I was curious to know more about the world as well as the characters. It looks like there's going to be a focus on the power of friendship again. I sound so unimpressed by that, I'm not, I swear. Pretty early on in this volume we have some ominous speculation from this mysterious being, and there is a sense of anticipation and adventure throughout the volume. Rebecca is a beekeeper, which is kind of basically just a YouTuber. She's kind of like Lucy with her attitude, but she's a badass when she needs to be, which I kind of wasn't expecting from her from what we'd seen of her at the start. Shiki uses this stuff called Evergear, which allows him to float and have strength and so on, and I thought that was an interesting kind of magic system. As for the art, I like the way the space settings were drawn and Blue Garden, the character designs. We'll get onto that in a minute. There are space dragons though, which definitely was a bonus point for me. There's a nice amount of action in this volume to go with all of the introductory stuff that you would expect from a first volume. Plus there's a couple of little surprises like Happy and what exactly he is. But as much as I enjoyed this first volume and devoured it and was intrigued by it and wanted to know more and wanted to get to know the characters more, and as much as I am excited to see the continuation of this series, I can't ignore the similarities to Fairy Tail. First off is the art, which I'm sure you can tell just from the cover that I'm holding here. Shiki really looks like Grey, or like Grey crossed with Natsu, whereas Rebecca literally looks like Lucy. And you know, Happy is Happy. He looks exactly like Happy, and he's called Happy. As much as I'm excited for Elsie Crimson, the space pirate, because you know, space pirate, she's basically Urza. Libby, as far as I can tell, is a grown-up Wendy, except she's a complete and utter cow, whereas Wendy not so much. And then we have Wise Steiner, who essentially, to my eye, is Loxus. So with the character designs, Mashima has definitely, I'm not sure whether to say recycled the character designs or plagiarised himself, but they are very similar. That being said, there are some Fairy Tail characters hidden purposely throughout this volume, and I didn't realise that to start with, so I was just like, really dude? Really? You've put Lucy and Natsu in there? What am I supposed to take from this? But by the time I reached the end of the volume, I realised it was done on purpose as kind of like a little Easter egg hunt. There was Max and Warren, Team Shadow Gear, and Lucy and Natsu. The next thing is the guild and the adventuring aspect. As I was reading this and we went to the guild, it did strike me as Fairy Tail, but in space and with different kinds of magic. Obviously the guild isn't exactly the same, it doesn't look the same as Fairy Tail, it operates very differently, and it is different, but it really did have echoes of Fairy Tail to me. There are also echoes of Fairy Tail throughout this volume, but much like the characters that popped up as little Easter eggs, that could be another kind of Easter egg thing, because one of the robots was wearing the hat of the little pumpkin dude from the Grand Magic Games. There was a quest flyer floating about, and the catnapper totally looked like Racer, but like I said, that could just be more little Easter eggs along with the characters that you had to find throughout. What I will say about the similarities is that one of the characters mentioned a manga like that when Shiki was talking about what his idea of a guild should be, and now I'm wondering how much of this has been done on purpose, not just the little kind of Easter eggy things, but with the art and the similarities to it. Forgive me if I'm just really out of the loop, but I am wondering if this is supposed to be set in the same world as Fairy Tail, or if these are supposed to be descendants of Fairy Tail and it's like way in the future. I'm not sure, I could be out of the loop, or, you know, Mashima's just having fun with us. Either way, despite the similarities, I did really enjoy this first volume. It's left me with plenty to be intrigued by. I have a ton of questions and a sense of foreboding thanks to the end of the volume. Versailles of the Dead. This is about Marie Antoinette. She is on her way to Versailles to marry King Louis the whatever, I can't remember his number. Her carriage gets attacked by zombies, she dies, and her twin brother Albert takes her place. This drew me in from the beginning with Marie Antoinette's little monologue and the sense of foreboding. There's a twist about Albert straight away from the beginning, and there's a couple of other twists throughout the volume. The character design is gorgeous, as is the art in general. I really like the way the backgrounds were drawn. They were really nice and detailed. The zombies were appropriately gruesome. For a first volume, we already have so much intrigue, mostly in the form of Madame du Barry and her two little buddies, Dominique and Angelo. They appear to be the antagonists of this series, along with, you know, the zombies. Of course, historically, her character is just pissy that Marie Antoinette ignored her and was chill when she finally said something to her. But whether this series is going to show that and go that way, or kind of take that rift further, remains to be seen. We also meet Count Hans Axel von Fersen. That is a mouthful, Jesus Christ. He is historically known to be one of Marie Antoinette's closest friends and lovers, and his introduction in this first volume certainly piqued my interest because I'm intrigued to see how they're going to do that and which way it's going to go and how they're going to twist it. And speaking of twisting, I did really enjoy the way history was twisted in this volume. I liked the sense of distrust Bastien makes you feel for Albert, even though he's the main character. I'm not gonna lie, Albert is kind of shady though. Like, he has definitely got a dark side, which I wasn't expecting from his character. And in actual fact, 2 people in this volume say he's possessed by a demon, and you know, would agree. There's a lot of questions about the zombies and the sickness and what it's all about and what's going to happen to Madame de Barry and so on. Plus there's the floating pool lady. Anyway, for a first volume, this does a lot to grab your interest and to set the tone. It's dark, it's grim, and it's a little bit gruesome. It's nicely paced. There is a lot happening in just this one volume, with a lot of ground covered, like characters introduced, things being set up, intrigue brought in, and then we have a main character that we don't quite trust. I am definitely loving this so far, and it is a great start to a series. Hinowa Ga Crush. On the island of Wakoku, there is a civil war ongoing, and that civil war gives literally anyone the opportunity to become a hero. Anyone can make a name for themselves working through the ranks of the army, and our main character is determined to do just that. I found the opening pages of this very interesting because it's a very different vibe to Akame ga Kill, and we basically have 22 countries, all of whom are at war, and some of them are allies and some of them are not. The entire introduction chapter was completely badass. It lays the groundwork for the lay of the land and who is fighting who and why. Plus it straight away gives us the question of what is Yomohime, one of Tenro's commanders, because she's definitely something, I just haven't figured out what yet. Our main character in this is Hinata. She has changed her name to Hinowa, which was her mother's name. She is determined throughout this entire volume and the series in general presumably to put an end to this war. This is a sequel to Akame ga Kill, so obviously Akame is in it, which, you know, I didn't realise. Last time we saw Akame, she was heading off, and now she has obviously reached her destination. Hinowa has an excellent group of misfit friends that are a lot of fun to read about, and Akame joins that group when she agrees to teach Hinowa to sword fight. After the initial excitement of the first chapter, we spend the time meeting the characters, having Akame meet Hinowa and get into grips with the world, what's going on, and there is a hint of foreboding thanks to a coming war. Yes, another one. Apparently, according to this first volume, Hinowa and her friends have the power to end the war, and we get to see each one's motivations for fighting and so on. Interestingly, Akame is seeking help for not only her curse, but also for Tatsumi, and I am so here for him getting a less crappy ending, because you all know how irritated I was with how things ended for Tatsumi. Like, really? I swear to God, if this series gets my hopes up about Tatsumi getting a less crappy ending, but then it still ends with him being how he was at the end of Akame ga Kill, I'm gonna throw something. Obviously, I've read Akame ga Kill, so I know that no character is safe whatsoever. So when we have our first battle in this volume and all of our characters head off to it, I had the biggest sense of foreboding ever. We all know how Akame ga Kill went. We all know. As it stands, I'm not sure whether my foreboding feeling was right or wrong yet, as we end on a bit of a dire cliffhanger, which is, you know, familiar territory for Akame ga Kill readers. For a first volume, it begins and ends with action successfully pulling you in, then acquainting you with everyone and everything and having the characters meet that need to meet, before ending with more action as things kick off and finally get started. Hinowa is going to be an interesting main character, I feel, because she takes more of a leadership role than Tatsumi did, and I'm intrigued to see how Akame is going to fit in. Dead Mount Deathplay. The legendary hero takes on the corpse god Necromancer, but things don't entirely go to plan because the corpse god Necromancer isn't killed. He casts magic at the last minute to reincarnate him into our world. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect with this one, but it definitely wasn't quite what I got. The colour pages for this one set the tone. It's dark and it's grim. The opening is cinematic with the cliche, stereotypical good versus evil battle, complete with shit talking, which to me was an indicator that this wasn't going to take itself too seriously, because obviously it was done on purpose. The opening chapters take us on quite a journey. The necromancer ends up in Shinjuku. There's a techie guy flying a drone about, and there's this girl, and I thought that they were from an organisation that looks after people like our main character who have, you know, been displaced from their own world and ended up in ours. But it twists so quickly. So quickly. It literally gave me whiplash from how fast it twisted. Poker, our main character, might look cute thanks to his character designs, but when he gets his magic back, he becomes so sinister. Not all the time, but there are points when he is just really sinister, and it is so at odds with his character design, which I was completely and utterly living for, but it did really shock me the first time. This first volume is quite chunky. We have action, we have a life and death chase through Shinjuku, we have assassins, we have creepy killers, we have zombies, and I do really find this quite darkly funny. Like, I feel like I shouldn't laugh, but I do chuckle a little bit. For example, when he accidentally kills someone because he didn't realise how fragile people are, and he's like, assassins in my world can go for 20 rounds, and I wheezed. As you may or may not have guessed, Poker is quite morally grey. He wants to live a quiet life in peace, and he will kill and maim to get it. But then 2 seconds later, he's saving kids from a burning building. As for our other characters, Misaki is completely and utterly psychotic. She loves killing people. She loves it a lot. But Takumi, our tech guy, is the most level-headed out of all three of them, it has to be said, and the most normal. And, you know, sane. But I do really get shady vibes from him, and I'm waiting to get the tea on him. To be honest though, all of the characters in this I find really morally grey, not just Poker himself. Including the 2 cops we meet, okay, and Arase in particular seems a little bit unhinged. This first volume is nicely paced. We covered a lot of ground, as you would expect in a volume this chunky. The art is pleasing to the eye, grim, but pleasing to the eye. There are bits of cuteness thanks to Poker. I like the way the magic was drawn. I love the vibe to it in general. It's gritty and there are sinister moments, but it's offset by some of the funnier moments, even if some of them, you know, fairly sure I wasn't supposed to laugh as much as I did. So those have been my mini manga reviews. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you thought of these manga if you've read them. I will link all of my social media down below so you can come and chat to me on Twitter. You can check out my full length review for these over on my blog. For more similar content, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next video.